what would you choose? Acute pain or chronic disease? You've got to rip the Band-Aid off, right? You've got to make that hard decision. You've got to have that hard conversation. And the outcome is going to be the right outcome, but you cannot not address it, right? Yeah, so this rolled right out of one of our masterminds this morning. Just as a coaching call, I was talking to one of our clients about a tough decision that he was trying to make, and at the end of the day, it boiled down to.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business, so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
Great to be together with you today. And we have this feeling, and I think we're pretty accurate on this, mainly because I think we know how you feel, that this episode is going to hit and strike a chord for, I would say, the vast majority of this group. I would say, dare to say, Dr. Stephen, 100% of the listeners, especially when you think about your whole life. But even if we just thought about your business only, today we want to talk about specifically the decision-making process and making the hard decisions. And, you can see that the theme in our episode is choosing acute pain over chronic disease. I know we're talking to a bunch of healthcare providers here, and we know that we don't even market pain. But I'll tell you, this one strikes a chord. Why? Because it's a chief complaint. It's what brings people in initially. And I'll tell you right now that if you don't, as we know and we teach in healthcare, symptoms are the last thing to show up. It's the first thing to go away. We know that pain, right, is not a great predictor for health, but we do know that in business, when you don't address the pain and you don't deal with it, it'll just fester and it stays and it remains, and then it becomes a diseased part of the organism when we don't address things and we don't deal with them head on. Dr. Stephen, so today we want to talk about your audit of your business, thinking about right now, especially Dr. Stephen, wherever you're listening to this, but I know we're listening to this or recording this at a quarterly transition. It's a great time to be auditing your business and think about, what are the things that you've been tolerating? What are the areas of your business that you have just allowed diseases you've allowed to become chronic in nature? There's necrosis at this point setting in. There needs to be a pruning process at this point, at this stage in the game. Dr. Stephen, we're going to shoot straight today, and we're going to ask you to leave this mastermind experience of a mastermind. It's a podcast, but it feels like a mastermind with all of you listening with making some decisions.
Yeah. So this rolled right out of one of our masterminds this morning. Just as a coaching call, I was talking to one of our clients about a tough decision that he was trying to make. And at the end of the day, it boiled down to, he was feeling that entrepreneurial pressure, right? That business pressure. As an entrepreneur, you're always under pressure. And I like to say that you're either pregnant with a great idea or you're constipated with the decision you're not making, but there's always pressure, right? This guy was just jacked up on this decision. And, I just hit him between the eye with a question, with love. It's like, what would you choose? Acute pain or chronic disease? You've got to rip the Band-Aid off, right? You've got to make that hard decision. You've got to have that hard conversation. And the outcome is going to be the right outcome, but you cannot not address it, right? You cannot not have that awkward conversation that will reconcile the situation. You cannot, I love the word you use, fester. You cannot let these situations fester in your business, in your life, in your mind, in your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, you're listening right now. What is that decision right now for you that is festering? You feel it. You know that it's hanging out there. It's occupying too much of your mind share. It's distracting you, whether it's distracting you at home or it's distracting you at the office. Maybe it's distracting you during your team meetings, or even worse, table side when you're adjusting patients. You know that there's a relationship that's gone sideways, or there's a situation that's either toxic or deficient There's something there that doesn't belong there. There's something that's missing that needs to be reconciled. Where's the toxicity? Where's the deficiency? Where's the decision that you need to make to take your business to the next level?
So Dr. Stephen, I immediately go to a few things. And so I want to pull on some of the tools that many of you have heard us discuss in this podcast. And we've given a lot of these things away in previous episodes. One of the first things that I want to share for you to use as a filter when deciding and making decisions is your vision story. So we encourage you to think as CEOs in 3 frames of time. So we always measure what's important now, what's important next, and what's important ultimately. It's actually a really important time when you're making tough decisions to go to your vision story and look at what's important ultimately and ask yourself the question, from when you go to your destination place and you look back and you and your future self talks to you and your present self, what would your future self tell your present self to do? So go and pull out your vision story, because that future Dr. Pete 3 years from now, talking to the Dr. Pete today, will be unemotional and crystal clear in how he communicates with the Dr. Pete for today. And so one great exercise, and if you don't have a vision story, you're not regularly updating your vision story, that's an issue, and you should probably make that decision. That's probably another decision you need to make, is to be willing to write it down, to get it written, right? Because like Dr. Stephen, you always say, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. And, as the CEO, we are the visionary, right? The chief visionary officer, as well as the chief energy officer. You own and govern that for the whole company. So go back to your vision stories first and foremost. Second is to pull out your business core values and use your business core values as a way to audit yourself. Because if you're the one who has to make the decision, you have to look at your own values and say, am I operating in alignment and within integrity in this organization as a member of this team if I don't make the decision? And use your own core values to create the conviction that you need to create the activation energy to move forward. And so we know, we say we run value-based companies. We make value-based decisions. Okay, that's cool. It's nice to say it, but you should do it, And so actually, let's get our core values out. Let's sit with our core values. Let's put the decision next to our core values, and let's ask ourselves, hey, how am I going to approach this in a way that's aligned, that's in a place from integrity, that's going to allow me to operate in the state of integrity and alignment so that I can move forward. And Dr. Stephen, I love how you talked about the tension, that we live in, as entrepreneurs and CEOs. I love how you talked about the pregnancy versus the constipation. Here's the thing that's going to happen is right on the other side of that decision, you get rid of that constipation. What ends up happening is oftentimes that's where the next great idea, the next great revelation, and the next great person comes into your life. You're just resisting it. We're resisting it from happening, and so it's really important that we end the resistance. We remove the interference. As you said, we got to get rid of the toxicity or address that deficiency. So I'm going to encourage you to use 2 things. Number 1 is your vision story, and talk to yourself, go to your future self, look back over what's going to happen over these next 3 years. Talk to yourself today and tell yourself, give yourself a little bit of direction. And the second thing is using your present day business core values to look at those and say, hey, how do I become the leader who's going to operate within the context of my core values and actually make this decision well? And I would encourage you to use those 2 things as you're making the decision, because I believe that will really help you.
So, hey, this is probably landing straight where we're aiming, which is right between your eyes right now. So if you're listening to this, we're going to keep it short and sweet today because you've already made up your mind. Listen, you already know what to do. You already know what to do. Dr. Pete and I are very, we honor our commitment to not telling you what to do. Listen, you already know what to do. Okay. So listen to that voice within, understand that, we've made a commitment to you that we won't tell you what success looks like, but we will tell you where success lives. Right. And this is a law of the jungle. So as you're a CEO, you have a fiduciary responsibility to that business. You have a commitment to a purpose and to a mission to optimize that business, which means the expression of the potential of that business to manifest the vision story for what's next and ultimate for your business. This is the law of the jungle. This is not your idea. This is your responsibility. You have to make sure that you make core values decisions, value-based decisions. And there are three things that need to line up. Success lives when you experience the alignment between three things: your core values, the core values of that business, your vision story for your business, what success looks like, and your behaviors.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner, dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy.
What's up, Remarkables? Hey, it's Dr. Stephen Franson here, and I'm here with a very, very good friend, longtime friend, and a very special guest on our podcast, one of our success partners. It's Dr. David Fletcher from CLA. Dr. David, it's great to see you, man. I can't wait to hear about what's new over there at CLA.
Oh, Stephen, it's wonderful to be invited and to be part of the Remarkables. And there's always something new going on at CLA. You know, we pride ourselves in leading the innovative curve when it comes to making chiropractors and technology come together.
Oh man, you guys without a doubt set the bar for technology in chiropractic, especially on the clinical side. But you know, that leads into the conversational side, the promotional side, the marketing side, which leads to better conversions and retention. You know what? I love the fact that our clients can all leverage your technology to make a bigger impact and a bigger income. So on behalf of Chiropractic, man, thanks for all you guys have done. It's just been awesome.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. You know, as a chiropractor and a passionate one, it's been this joy I've had to find ways to make it easier to build retention and make it easier for families to be attracted and communities, et cetera. And so, you know, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a scan is worth 10,000 words, because it really allows us to make the invisible visible. We talk so much about what chiropractic is, but now we get a chance to really do the show and tell, or tell and show. And it's super exciting because each one of the you know, enhancements that we've made to our technology, from years ago when it was a wired piece of technology to now when we're working from iPads, it's the streamlined nature. It's the ability for us to work with very productive practices and make sure that there's no stickiness in the relationship of doing an examination, doing a report, and developing the care plan, and then delivering it so that there's that retention model.
Man, so you know how I know you're a listener of the podcast, and you know we have a bit of a game that we play with our success partners. You know, in these interviews, this is a 7-minute interview, and I ask you 3 questions, and the challenge is can we get all this in the remaining 6 minutes, right? So my first question for you is, does it work, and does it work? Okay, so I love asking that question, especially on the technology side, because you understand what I mean when I say that. It's like the technology itself is like, is it user friendly? Is it something that a busy practitioner can bring into their practice and integrate into the, you know, obviously I'm biased on the Remarkable Practice System, but in any system that's a subluxation based vitalistic practice. So does it work? Does it integrate well? And does it work as far as, do you actually see an uptick in referrals? Do you see an uptick in the conversion process? And I know you're a data guy like me. What do you see as far as retention goes, and, you know, fleshing out the family, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, you know what? Yes and yes is the answer. You know, one of the things that we know is that it's critical that you are comfortable building retention-based reexaminations and re-reports into it. So the latest iteration of the Insight has 20 plus combinations of reports that you can build from, which means that it's doing a lot of the talking and the telling for you. So once you've done the exam, which in a full exam of a neural profile takes less than 7 minutes, it gives you all the data that you're looking for so that you can have the immediate conversation, but also the tracking conversation with the patient. We also did something which is to score that relationship. So we spent a lot of time with data scientists looking at the efficiencies. And so the answer is yes. We get reproducibility and the ability of making sure that the scores are progressive. Not one of the things that matters really clearly is that the client and their team have the confidence to rely upon this data. We don't want them feeling like there might be a gap in it. So the actual instruments have been built now so that there are stop checks within there. If it's not gathering the information correctly at that moment, it stops the exam and reflects on them to go back and do it again, or to stop that. So reliability and validity are all built into the system. Retention wise, yes. because one of the things that we know is that the confidence begins with the practitioner and their team. And if they know that they are getting not just simple symptom-based modeling, but actually functional neurological modeling that's going on with that, they have the confidence to know that they can give a deeper retention-based care plan or a neuroplastic care plan. It can last for months and even years when you're following through in this system.
Okay, beautiful. So you know what we teach, the chiropractic process, the patient's arc, the arc of their journey is attraction, conversion, retention, right? So, and I believe that it's all about retention. I know you and I share the spirit of that. It's not about getting people started or getting them checked or getting them adjusted or closing them, all this language that we hear inside of our profession. It's about getting families to the point where they are leveraging chiropractic as a lifestyle success strategy for healthy human beings, right? So you've got to be able to convey that, right, value, and you've got to be able to communicate that and educate your people. So I love the fact that there's this red thread throughout that attraction process, conversion process, and retention process, right? So obviously in attraction, I used to love showing up to a corporate wellness event or a spinal screening or what have you, and I would demonstrate, checking people and be demonstrating what we were looking for, and people love technology. So it's the oohs and ahs, and it's really impressive when they see something that's, it's a great demonstration of what we're trying to describe in a sort of nebulous, concept, something that's new to them, right? So, and then of course, in the conversion process, being able to show somebody themselves, right? So this is you, this is normal, this is you, right? So, and having that contrast, the human mind responds really well to contrast, right? And then of course, in retention, as you go through progress exams, re-exams, re-reports, re-signs, recommitments, and their second, third, fourth, fifth, care plan, it was the red thread that lived through the whole thing, because you could go back historically and reference, like, David, this is where you, when you started, this is your brain on subluxation. Here's you at your first progress exam. Here's you at your second progress exam. Here's you at your fourth, at your R4, at your re-exam. What do you see, right? And they can tell you what they see. It's so visual. And then say, now this is your last progress checkup. Here you are a year later, and here you are now, right? And if the patient's been doing really well, you can show them what they're doing well. If they've started missing appointments, or you wonder if they were losing value, whatever, it's an opportunity for you to say, what do you see? And they say, oh my gosh, it looks like I'm sliding backwards. So it's a way to demonstrate to people what has been changing, or the status or the state of their nerve system, as opposed to just saying, hey, David, how you feeling? Has there been any traumas? Like, what else are you going to base future recommendations for care on when people are in wellness care at that point? So, I just on behalf of all the TRP docs, I want to thank you for that. So, talk to me about like that wellness plan design. I mean, so you guys, obviously this has been intentional. What are you seeing with the doctors as far as their conviction, their certainty when it comes to leveraging this technology to have ongoing, lifetime chiropractic care for families?
Yeah, when we were designing how they were going to report, we realized one of the gaps was that the doctors would make it up, if you will, in their own language. There's something positive about that, but then they would sometimes lose the plot. So we started to develop the core score, which was this very well scripted but well organized approach to where we could look at the neural efficiency. And what we did when we were gathering the data for that, Stephen, was that we were able to literally see that there was a threshold of this neurological efficiency. And we have that both for children and for adults. And what it allowed us to do was to sort of give the doctor and their team the ability to get them in the early stages to strive to get to that threshold level. But once the patient got there, then they were motivated to keep that threshold and that number growing. And this has been a huge changeover, because it takes this ideation of, oh, I feel better, or I think I'm going to keep it here. Or there's a real tradition in chiropractic offices to say, well, you've been coming at 3 times a week, twice a week. Let's see if we can cut it down and keep it improving. Well, we don't believe in that. We believe in the neuroplastic responses, the more the better, within reason. And so the scoring system has been valuable at doing that. And, one of the things of ease of use that you mentioned, and I wanted to highlight this, is I used to go out and do corporate screenings all the time. In fact, they were a lifeblood of it. And we have this now with an iPad interface, which allows them to have no disconnections at all. It's just done right on the iPad.
That's right.
And what corporations adore is stress orientation. And that's where the Neuropulse, or the HRV system we have, ties in. So they don't have to worry about the spine. It's a non-spinal test that talks about the bigness of chiropractic through the nervous system, not simply how they correlate the nervous system to the spine. Lots and lots and lots of iterations there. But retention is about the adaptive conversation. And that's what the scoring does. And that's what the HRV does, is that it shifts it from the spine to become more of this intent of saying you're in an adaptive phase.
That's exactly right. It's positioning, right? So we're positioning ourselves more accurately, which is that healthcare practitioner that makes sure that the nervous system is clear. And the purpose of the nervous system is to adapt to stressors readily and appropriately. So it forces that conversation and drives the branding that we want. That's how we want to be branded in the community. Love it. And I love the quantification. I love the scoring. If we've learned anything from the medical world, it's that people will actually learn numbers like blood pressure and cholesterol numbers and A1C, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's awesome that we now have a core score. All right, David, you did it. That was 7 minutes, man. Well done. So last question, the third question is the easy one. How do people learn more about the Insight? How do they get in touch with you?
We just redesigned journeys within our website, insightcla.com. It's a brilliant pathway, very, very inviting, and there's no way that you would get lost in it. It's a beautiful system.
Love it, man. We'll put that link down in the show notes below. David, thank you for helping our people help more people. That's the spirit of our success partners. And you guys are just such an awesome, dare I say, remarkable success partner. We'll see you guys at the remarkable Conversion and Retention Immersion, May 5th and 6th in Orlando. So we'll see you there, brother.
See you soon.
Thanks, buddy. Perfect, man.
How'd we do?
It was perfect. Crushing.
Good man.
All right.
Listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate the timing. Let's stay in touch and have a great one.
Yeah, let's plan on, we'll get I don't know if I think Dr. Pete was going to set up a call, or I don't know if
I think that was on. Yeah, I think that was it, but we'll build on that. Pete's always on top of the game. So we'll stay in touch.
Yeah. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll just get together for half an hour and we'll talk out our, whatever our role playing is. And I'll reach out to Greg Lee and his team and get them to help us out.
Yeah, by all means. Real quick, in terms of that weekend scheduling, did you have any intention of going to Sherman for Bourla's investiture?
I won't. Is that May 5th and 6th?
It's on the Wednesday before the immersion. I
won't be there.
Yeah, I don't know if I can be there either. Obviously my priority is you guys and I'm booked, but we'll see how that goes. You like to be everywhere.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. We support Sherman wholeheartedly and
so
financially, but it's like some things I can and can't be at.
Yeah, I know. So, my life in airplanes. All right, my friend. Have a great one.
Be good. See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic. And what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.